Welcome back to the Weekend Ball podcast. Today, I'm very thankful to welcome Yann Ohnona de l'équipe to preview Canada versus France. Merci beaucoup pour se joindre nous. Thanks so much for coming on, Yann, and especially from France and covering the game. So it should be a fun one tonight, Canada versus France. First, just how long have you been covering this French national team?
My first competition was back in 2011, but I was like a rookie, but it was a big one. It was in Lithuania, big Eurobasket. And since then, not every competition, but like most of them, the last 5 years, I've been covering them like consistently.
And what's that been like for you just to see them obviously in Tokyo they got the silver medal and really rise in the world of basketball.
Well, I've come around at the right time, like they had like 7 medals, I think, since 2011. So this is just
Wow.
crazy. It's always, great adventure to be there and to see them grow. And Tokyo was missing the spectators, and the audience. But, once you forgot about that, the games were great. And of course, we were all interested shocked by the games against the USA, the opening one that France won against all odds, and the semifinal will stay as a big game in the French basketball history because of the block of Nicolas Batum that gave France the win and qualification for the final.
Yeah, and with that, like just for this France team, like what are kind of the expectations within France of how good this team can do at the World Cup this year?
So that's what's new, like France, they're always good as underdogs. They always have the talent to do something, but it's the first time really that they show up and everybody's saying that they're kind of favorites. Maybe not, there's Team USA always because you don't want to discard them. There are a lot of favorites in this tournament. When you look at Canada, Germany, Spain, even if they have some player missing, you can never ignore them. Australia, there's so many favorites, and the only team that has like both experience and medals and that kept its core is basically France. Like if you had Wembanyama in that team, which he was supposed to come at one point, but then made a decision to stay with the San Antonio Spurs after the draft, which I think is understandable, even if he's missing, obviously. But with him, I think France would be heavy favorites, not
Wow.
even
Okay.
part of the favorites. So right now, they have something that the other don't have, that some of the other don't have, is that experience of big moments and that Tokyo thing. The fact that they beat Team USA twice in the last 4 years, in the quarterfinals in 2019 in China in the World Cup, and then at the Olympics with the big team. So they have something that others don't have, and they have a variety of weapons. So honestly, they're really part of the big favorites. But then once you said that, there's still some big question marks, like the bench, because we're missing Nilikina, which was injured and was an important part of that team. Even though he's not playing in the NBA, every time he comes to the French national team, he's a big part of the chemistry of the team. That's just an example, and you need some players to show up so that they will turn that favorite prediction into something real. But that's interesting.
And with that, just for some of the people here in Canada, because not everyone watches Eurobasket or kind of the EuroLeague, what are some of the players that aren't the NBA players on France that people in Canada should kind of watch out for and that are really pivotal to France's team and their success?
Oh, so the first one obviously is Nando de Colo, because he became this season with as well, the best scorer. If you look at the whole European Cups, it's not just EuroLeague. He's not first in EuroLeague yet for the moment, but he's in the top three, I think. But if you take all the European Cups, he became the top scorer.
Wow.
All players, all eras, So he represents the excellence of FIBA and EuroLeague basketball, which means, and he's the boss of that team. And last summer at the Eurobasket, he was missing. Nicolas Batum was missing, and France still went to the final in a quite weird and lucky and resilient way. We'll put it that way. But they didn't play good basketball. They were, I think, the top team in turnovers, and they had what it takes, but they didn't use their strengths. And De Colo is exactly who puts the whole talent together, and he reveals the talent of others, exactly like Nicolas Batum does. Nicolas Batum likes to call himself the glue guy, and that's exactly what he is. He can score 30 points on any given night. It's not what he's going to do usually in the French national team, but he's able to score points. But at the same time, he's going to, pass the ball, rebound, play some excellent defense. He's a great team captain. And the fact that they got those two back is very important for them. So Nicolas Batum is playing the NBA, but Nando de Colo, you should be, he's a master in drawing fouls, in getting to the free throw line, passing the ball. He has a court vision, and he's been playing a point guard position for France in the Olympics, which was not the plan. He usually plays, shooting guard, and as a point guard, he's been, great, incredible.
And with that, what? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, go.
No, and with that, what are some of the like non-NBA players, like other than De Colo, that are really kind of pivotal for this French team?
Gershon Yabusele, which used to be an NBA player for a few years, but never with a big role, has become like a major piece of that national team. I'm pretty sure he was like the best scorer during the friendly games, which does not mean a lot at this point, but he showed up at the Olympics, and he was straight up an important player. So in modern basketball, it's very interesting because he's a beast, and he's a power forward, but he can shoot threes. So obviously in the modern game, you need to have a forward position that shoots threes. He can play some defense. The only thing lacking in his game, and it's a bit because he shoots a lot of threes and he can do this, is maybe he's lacking a little bit of rebounding. But in terms of physicality, and what he brings offensively in the paint, he's very, very important and pivotal in that team.
And maybe what are some of the kind of areas do you think that will be kind of advantageous for Canada against France, like areas that Canada could maybe attack for France?
So Canada, to me, is one of the most intriguing teams in that competition. It doesn't happen often that you see a team like that you basically don't know, because we've seen Canada a couple of years ago, getting eliminated from their own OQT. And to me, it's such a different team. Like this time, it feels like a team. I saw some stretches of friendly games. It has nothing to do with what I remember, at least from the way they played, and I mean the way they played together at the very least. And when I see the atmosphere in the team that we were able to witness during the practices that are open to the media, when I see the coaching staff, so basically you have the talent, and what's interesting is we don't know what's going to happen. To me, it's completely unpredictable. And French coach Vincent Collet was telling us yesterday that Canada is in a position where France was a couple of years ago, or maybe 3-4 years ago, when they had to reestablish their talent and who they were in the hierarchy of world basketball, when nobody believed really in them, that they could be at the top, especially after Tony Parker left in 2016, and France did that in a very obvious and impressive way, actually. And he said Canada is exactly where we were at that moment. And they have the talent, because if you take all the NBA players of your team, of Canada's team, you get 105 points per game in the NBA. This is just crazy. I don't even know I don't even know if Team USA has that many points. maybe they
Maybe
do,
not.
but because they're all NBA players, But I mean, other than that, no team can match this kind of offensive power. And then when I see that you have guys like you have the science of a Spanish coach, which is always interesting, and a great coach. Then you have Rowan Barrett, that as a GM that we know very well in France, because he used to be the best scorer of the league in France. You have Boniface Ndong, so you even have that French touch, and then you have like that guy in the back, like David Blatt. Come on, putting this whole thing together and maybe teaching the team, I guess, the zone press that is famous for in defense. So so interesting to have this mix of offensive power and ambition. I'm interested in what's going to happen today.
And with that, just what kind of player is Rudy Gobert in the FIBA game? Like, is he a much better player? Just the way his game style matches the NBA, the FIBA game compared to the NBA. Like, is it almost much easier for him because of the defensive 3 seconds and the key being eliminated?
Yeah, for sure. If he's dominant in his own way in the NBA. He's going to be even more dominant because obviously, like you just said, he doesn't have to get out of the paint. So it just needs to be aggressive with the pick and roll sometimes, but he can stay put. And I can tell you one thing, like I didn't see him often that fit before a competition. And I know that he's been working like a lot during the off season. Especially in June, he was telling me that he had like 4 practices a day.
Oh my God!
Like twice, weights and twice basketball. So he's been really motivated. I don't know why he's that motivated this summer, but he really wants to achieve a gold medal at one point. And him and Evan Fournier, who also is in a revenge mode because he didn't play for the Knicks this season. Almost didn't play. So they're 2 friends, very good friends, and they're from the 92 generation. And they both had like a couple of silver medals, and they're still missing. You have Batum that won the Euro Championship and even won some gold medals when he was in youth competitions. But Fournier and Gobert are some of the ones that never tasted the gold, and it became an obsession for them. And Gobert is really dominant. We saw him very dominant, even putting him some post moves, which was not, as his strength, his first strength. But when he receives the ball in the right way, he can do something about it, and he showed it during the friendly games.
And just with that, obviously, you mentioned how Evan Fournier and Rudy Gobert seem really motivated. But for the rest of the team, how motivated are they in this tournament because they already know that they're going to the Olympics? Like, how much does that factor in, do you think, to just their kind of mindset going into this game compared to a Canada, who really their whole goal, they've been saying, is to make the Olympics, and obviously France doesn't have that goal in this tournament?
I think they don't need motivation because all of those, they all want to play the Olympics at home. So all of a sudden it made the process of bringing in players much easier. France has a history of players saying, okay, no, I'm sorry, I have to go to the swimming pool, guys. I'm not going to be able to make it this summer. So that's the way we say it in France. Like, I got swimming pool. But right now it's not even a question. Like, everybody wants to be there, and you need to be good if you want to be in that team, that 12-man squad next summer. So that's not even a question. So the way I see it this summer is we still have some players like Eli Okobo, even if he played last summer. Sylvain Francisco, first time in the national team in the final phase. Isaiah Cordinier, first time ever. And Yakuba Ouattara, first time ever. All of those need to show up. And I think in FIBA game, the rotation, like when you get to the big games, it's like mainly 8 players, usually. A little bit 9, but it's like 7, 8 core players. And at this time, France has, the starting 5 from the Olympics. that they have 2 more years of experience, or they're 2 years older, depends the way you want to see it. But they're going to need some supporting cast, and they're going to need players like Mathias Le Sort as well. Even if he played in the 2019, he doesn't really have experience because he did not play in that competition, and that was the only one. And he's been, you know how dominant he's been this season in the EuroLeague, and he must bring something to the table. And if you get 2-3 players that reveal themselves during that competition and that show that they can deliver at the biggest stage, because that's the question mark. Do they have, what it takes to be stable and to deliver consistently during the whole competition? Then France is clearly a favorite.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just with that, for the matchup versus Canada, how do you think they're going to try to approach guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and RJ Barrett? Like, they don't really have the same kind of wing defenders other than Batum than maybe Canada. So how do you think they're going to approach that?
I wish I knew. No, my best bet would be that Canada might see some zone defense. I think the obsession of he actually told us that the obsession is to not let Canada run. So the big thing will be to not turn the ball over, because you turn the ball over, you make them run. So you don't want them to run or you're dead. So they're gonna want to prevent Canada from running for sure. So they're gonna try to do big pressing, in the attack, to be careful with the ball. The last game against Australia, the friendly one, the only one that they lost during preparation, they lost like 20 or 21 time. Yeah, so it's not something that they have to fix. And they don't want Canada to drive the ball, because to slash, because they know that's one of their main strengths with Shai. So obviously that's why I think we might see some zone defense. And I don't know. I know that French national team has been practicing a lot of different defenses that we never seen in the past. So I guess Canada is one of the reasons for that, and because they want to use their athleticism to match that. That's interesting, because usually France is the team with the athleticism, that everybody fears because of that. And they actually, during the preparation, I can confirm that the defensive state of mind is there, and it's always been the identity of France. So it's going to be physical defense for sure, and trying to not let them run and not slash into the paint.
And for offense, before I let you go, just how do you think they're going to try to attack Canada? Maybe Canada's lack of size, especially just with a guy like Rudy Gobert and obviously Nando De Colo and Evan Fournier, really good coming off screens. Just how do you think they're going to try to attack Canada's defense?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the obsession will be to get the ball inside, because that's like you said, it's on the paper at least. On paper, at least, France is supposed to be more dominant at this position. So and last summer, one of the problems that we were not able to bring the ball inside, to put the ball inside the paint in the right conditions. It was never at the right time. So the screens were not perfect. And so that's what they're going to try to do, and that's what Nando de Colo and Nicolas Batum excel at. So, and then France is supposed to have an advantage over Canada, is the experience together and the way they play together. So I'm not sure what's going to mean tonight in the game, but that's what they're going to try to do, obviously. But they move the ball well,
Yeah.
France moves the ball well, especially with Batum and De Colo. So you want to expect to see the ball moving very fast and swing. They're gonna try to swing the ball. They're obsessed with that as well, swing the ball.
That's interesting, because I think that was kind of the problem with Canada throughout the friendlies, was just their ability to, once they got in the half court setting on defense, they weren't great at rotating. And I think that's just their lack of continuity compared to a team like France, who's been playing with each other for years. But Yann, just to let you go, thanks again for doing this. So what's your prediction? Who's going to win tonight? And maybe why do you think one team wins over the other?
Shit. You have to answer that now. Like honestly, so I'm so bad at prediction. So whatever I
It's more for
say,
the fun of
the
it.
opposite is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I have to go. I have to go with France because uh, the way I saw them play, I think they have what it takes to contain, and they have what it takes to, like, if the game is tight, to make the difference at the end.
Mhm.
But obviously, you know, like the complete opposite could happen, and I will not look like such an expert tonight, but we'll see. I'm so, you know, this game is gonna be great, whatever
No,
happens.
I think it's definitely the marquee matchup of the first couple days of the FIBA World Cup. I know everyone in the States at ESPN seems to want to watch it. So I'm really excited
Yeah.
to be covering it alongside you. And thanks again, Yann, for taking the time right before the
Pleasure.
game later today.
See you tonight, man.
See ya.